Oh, hey guys, it's me again. I'm back with another YouTube video finally. Today we're going to be doing two different types of slabs, texturing, scrap canes, mixing scraps, using foil, using texture. We're all in. We're going deep right now. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab all our scraps and all the crap that's sitting in our drawers and we're going to shove it all together. Now my biggest tip for you is to make sure that the colours that you're sort of squishing together all sort of match. So if it's got big patches of black in it, that's going to end up turning it grey, so don't do that. Then what I'm going to do is squish it, roll it. You can see in the picture I'm doing that right now, and I'm going to throw it through my clay machine. Now I have to admit I have a Lucy clay tool. It's a mammoth, it's amazing, it's phenomenal, it's ridiculous, I'm in love with it, so I will be using that to do it. You just run it through quite a few times. The best thing to do is to put it fold first or fold to the side when you run your clay through so that you don't get any air bubbles, and then you're going to end up with an amazing colour like this. It is crazy how much lint and dust disappears when you mix clay like this. If you can see, there's hardly any lint and dust on there now. Insane. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're making a scrap cane. I'm just showing you my scrap drawer. This is where I store all my clay that needs to be used up. This is the stuff, the bars that are open. And then I also have, so just what we did there with mixing the clay up, I also have all my other ones that I've mixed up. I did a big clean out, you know. I Marie Kondo'd my clay drawer, okay? The other thing that I store in here is skeletons or slabs that have been cut up. So they get stored just between baking paper. But we're choosing some colours now that we're going to use in our scrap canes or our, you're going to see what we're making. You saw it in the beginning when we first started the video, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm choosing colours that we can use and mix up together to make all the colours that we need for our slab. Yeah, I mean, that one's full of air bubbles. Anyway, that's fine. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, we're picking some pink. Oh, I like this one. I like this one. Okay. So what I want is about 6 or 7 different colours that we can use to make our I'm going to call it non-kaleidoscope cane. I don't want it to look anything like a kaleidoscope. It's kind of like a patchwork. Yeah, maybe it's like a patchwork cane. Not that that sounds cool. Anyway, so we're still picking colours. That bright pink is so gorgeous. Love that, love that. And I think I want a blue, yeah. It's like there's heaps of pink. Oh no, we're still in, okay, there we go. Yeah, we're going with the blue. I think I should have gone with the bright blue. Anyway, that's fine. Changed my mind, obviously. Okay, now I know that when I was doing this, I was like, okay, I'll use those up and then I'll mix the yellow with something. But I don't really want to mix in, you can see it coming up, the purple and pink skeleton, because whenever you mix complementary colours, so like yellow and purple are complementary colours, they turn brown, so the colour that it would have mixed wouldn't have been that nice. That's the reason why I put it back. I don't know why I grabbed this, I don't even end up using it. So all we're going to do is mix those colours up. The yellow with that skeleton makes a beautiful colour. Okay, random. Alright, she found some extra scrap. So we're doing the same thing. We squished it all together, we rolled it, and then I put it through the clay machine. I don't know why I keep pulling that out and showing you guys. You know that I've rolled it. You get it, right? And then we're going to make this cool yellow colour, which I'm kind of in love with. It goes with that, oh my gosh, that peach that I made earlier. So amazing. Anyway, what are we doing? Oh, okay. This is honestly the funniest section of this video, and I'm leaving it in here because I just think it's so hilarious. I'm actually laying the clay out for an Instagram shot and I want it to look pretty. Anyway, we'll come back to this. Okay, so This actually did help me realize that I was missing a color, so I decided to make a beautiful green color, and that is just using Shamrock Green by Soufflé with white. Yeah, and that's what I got. So I did realize after laying it all out that it was a good visual aid for me to see that I needed another color in there. So what have we got now? So I'm just cutting off smaller amounts because I know that I don't need a huge amount. And what we're going to do is just get sort of equal amounts and roll them all into snakes or tubes or coils, whatever you like to call them. We're just rolling them into snakes. I'm going to call them snakes. Colourful, beautiful snakes. Now, what I'm doing with all that scrap that I'm throwing to the side is that it will go back into my drawer for sorting out. I decided that's too fat, so I need a blade. That's just a stainless steel tissue slicing blade, just a sharp blade. Okay, yes, okay. Tidy, working clean, always good. Really wish that I'd went with a different blue, but anyway, that's fine. I really wish I went with that other blue. I can't change that now. So this is also one of my tools. It's my shaping tool. It's so good because it has the measurement guide across the bottom. So it just helps with I didn't really need to measure this. This is really kind of pointless, but in other situations where you need to measure off something, it's really awesome to have that in a tool that you use already. So it's like used for multi-uses. I mean... I know you guys love my YouTube videos because I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. Anyway, so we make a whole lot of snakes. We need them all in equal size, and you're going to see as we go through the video exactly why I want them to be equal sizes. This is actually a really good tutorial because you're going to be learning 2 different ways to use that cane up. And okay, this is the colors. I wanted to show how beautiful the colors were. That mint green is just gorgeous. That's the blue. I still wish it was more vibrant. Anyway. And that's the yellow one that we mixed up. I love that. And that's the peach from the first part of the video. What makes me really sad when you mix scraps up, just to give you some insight, is that it is almost impossible to replicate the exact colors again. Because obviously it's scrap and there's just random shit in there. So, oh, look at that rainbow of colours. Yes. And then I roll them again. This is my work process, and you're getting a good insight into how I do things. Alright. So we just really need them all nice and even. And then obviously what we're going to do is we're going to cut them in half. Save some for later. Roll them again. Oh, this is a bit of a drainer, isn't it? Okay. No. Really what I realized is that if I used all of that color, it would have been far too big, because by the time you reduce this down a little bit, it actually ends up being quite a bit of clay. So what you want to do when you're putting these together like this, now, anyone that makes canes, I'm apologizing in advance because I'm not a cane maker. This is just for fun, and this is a very contemporary style. You know, it's a really loose use of the word cane, let's be honest. Anyway, what you want to do is make sure that you have all the colours sort of separated the way you want them. So it's best to look down at it when you're putting the colours together. What I'm doing here is really badly reducing and squishing the cane together. But yeah, I just really want to get all of those colours stuck together so there's no gaps. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing a great job. Cut it in half. How cool does that look? Now I'm putting one half aside, and we're just going to work with the first half in this video. In this part of the video. I decided to use that as a base, and I feel like it was a total waste of that beautiful colour to use it as a base, but we can't live with regrets. Just can't. So roll that out using my small guides. Now my small guides are 3 mils in depth. Now you can just obviously run it through your clay machine if you like. I'm just showing you what you can do if you don't have a clay machine. But yeah, they're a great little tool. I did roll it just a little bit more because I wanted it slightly thinner, because I know obviously I'm going to be layering on a whole lot of slices from my scrap cane. Now the reason I keep calling it a scrap cane is because it has been made out of scrap clay. I like to place it on a piece of baking paper so that I can easily move it around. I think I remove it soon though, because she was too slippery, I'm not going to lie. Anyway, so we're using half of that cane that I just rolled out, and all we really want is even slices that are about 2 to 3 mil in thickness. I still use that one, by the way, that I just put to the side. This is fun, isn't it? She's cutting the cane, she's cutting the cane. And then what we're going to do, when we lay them onto our base, because I like to lay them onto a base, obviously for strength, we want to make sure that the colours are sort of randomized, so they're not all laying the same way, because that would give it a kaleidoscope feel. So my whole point here is that I want it to look really random, and the colours not to look matchy-matchy. I almost want to make it look like it hasn't come from a cane. That's the aim. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. That's my cat in the background, by the way. Anyway, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to let you watch this and see how I lay this down. Now, if there are any gaps, what I do afterwards is I will cut up a little piece and I'll just patch it, if you know what I mean. I said in the beginning, if you're a cane maker, I apologize in advance. This is not probably the traditional technique that you would use, I'm sure. Now, just while we're watching this relaxing video of me laying down some cane slices, I thought I would just give a shout out to the person that taught me how to do this. So it's obviously a technique that's out there in the amazing world of the internet. However, this particular technique and the way that I do this was shown to me by a good friend of mine, Sarah from Winter Bloom Design. She actually shared it in one of my polymer clay masterclasses, and I've sort of taken it and made a YouTube video. But I have okayed this with her first. So shout out to Sarah for this awesome technique. Thank you, babe. Obviously, I'm not doing it any justice compared to how she makes them, but it was definitely the foundation of me figuring out what I wanted to do. But yes, I think that's the really amazing thing about polymer clay and about our community, particularly here in Australia, is that we are all so close-knit, that sharing techniques and sharing ideas and tips and tricks and hacks is something that we just do. And usually we're pretty good at understanding that other people are obviously going to use those tips and techniques, and yeah, it's kind of part and parcel with what I do with my masterclasses anyway. So, by the way, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm trying to patchwork this up, and yeah, it's not really going that great. Anyway, we get there in the end. So to roll this out, this is what it looks like before we roll out. You basically don't want to have too many gaps, but when you're actually rolling it down or starting to roll it down to the depth you want, that's when you're going to sort of use your roller to make sure there's no, you'll see how I'm doing it there. This is how Sarah showed me how to do it. So you're just moving your roller back and forth, and that's just filling any little gaps that you can see of where the actual cane slices are laid. It's really important that you pick up your slab and move it around a lot so that it doesn't stick to your surface as well. And if you're wondering, I'm working on a ceramic tile. It's the best work surface. And yeah, so basically now I'm just turning it, rolling it, turning it, rolling it. Now, if it gets too wide, which is what's happening here, I've actually just developed some longer length guides. However, when it gets too wide for the roller, Mama just cuts it in half. She cuts it in half. There's no big deal because you just do the exact same to one half that you did to the other. You're going to cut it up anyway when you use your shape cutters and cut your components. So it's no big deal. I only then will work on one half. I don't work on both halves. So how cool does that look? So it looks like you've just laid, well you have, but it looks like you've individually laid all those colors out because it doesn't match and the colors weren't all going the same way. It looks really random. So that is what I love about this technique. It is a huge and effective look for a small amount of work. Yes, beautiful. So that is the finished product with the first half, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it aside and show you what we're going to do with the second half. Let's get right into it. So my decision was to reduce this down even more and make those colors a lot smaller than having a more detailed looking slab. So all I'm doing is sort of squishing and pulling the cane way out of frame. Come on, get it together, girl. Right. Squishing, and what I wanted to do with this one is just sort of squish it into like a squashed rectangle shape so that I could then place it easier without having to do too much reworking of the cane slices. Okay, so with that other little bit that I had left over from the base, I rolled that out. So this is going to be a very small little slab, but it doesn't need to be huge. It's fine to work with smaller slabs. You don't need to make gigantic slabs. And sometimes there's times where I wished I made a gigantic slab, and there's times that I wished I made a small slab. So I guess you can't really win that way. So what I did here is I reduced it down so much, I decided to actually join it again together like this and squish it. And I was being it didn't matter to me that if the colors get all squished up. I don't want them to be a perfect shape. I don't want them to look kaleidoscopy. I just want them to look random. And maybe it should be called a random cane. Maybe there's a special name for it. I'm sure you'll let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, it works for me. I like this technique, and I guess I'm just sharing this here because it's something that I like to do, and I get asked about this sort of thing quite a lot. Anyway, all ready, I think, now to slice up. And you can see the colors are a lot smaller. And I do that really fast. Okay, but anyway, that's what it looks like. It was exactly the same technique as my last slab. Obviously, just the colors are a lot smaller. And if you do that sort of like rectangle shape, you will find that you don't have as many gaps that you have to fill, and that it's a little bit easier to sort of get that random look. I actually really like the small one. At the end of this video, you're going to see, well, towards the end, you're going to see the two different things that I do with these, because it's not just like, oh, we made a slab and that's it. You could totally finish here and have an amazing looking slab with beautiful colors. You don't need to add to this, but I do with both of those slabs that I've just, oh, I love this. How good is that? You can't tell that came from a cane. That's what I love about it. So now we have the finished product. That's only the one half, but that's still fine. How good is that? So that's what happens if you do leave it the original size with the top one there, and then reduce it down, and you can get more of a sort of almost busy effect. And I've still got half of that color. I could do so much more. I could change it. I could add more colors. I could do whatever I liked. But yeah, the effect is amazing. I highly recommend having a play with this technique using a whole shitload of different colors. You do not just have to use the 7 colors that I've used. think outside of the box. You can use more, you can use less. I would suggest more, just because it's going to give you more of a random look. You could also use those same colors and just so that you didn't have to, I don't know, try and randomize the colors too much. You could just use like double the amount. It's completely up to you. Anyway, let's see what we're going to be doing next, which is a bit of texture. I'm sharing with you now my favorite texturing techniques and tools. We are going to texture the hell out of the bigger patchwork. I don't like the name patchwork. I need to come up with a new name. With the bigger slab, or the first slab that we made. So we're going to put that one aside. See ya. And we're going to work with this little puppy. I love this new way that I've set up my camera so that you guys can see in full detail everything that I'm doing. Now, right now, I'm using a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a cotton tip just to get rid of any lint and dust that's sitting on that slab, which is highly likely considering it is made using scraps and the fact that it's sort of been sitting around my studio quite a bit today. Now, when you're using this, don't press too hard, don't use too much, and don't keep going over the same spot. Rubbing alcohol does evaporate, but if you put too much on there, it can start to affect the clay. So yes, isn't this fun? But look how clean this is coming up. It looks so good. All right, anyway, I'll be back in a minute. All right, let's get deep in the texture game. The first tool we're going to use is a needle tool. It is basically a glorified metal skewer, but because it's got that nice grip on it, it's much easier to use than a skewer. All I'm going to do here is do some dashes with the skewer. It's really important that you hold it close to your work surface, so sort of on the side rather than up and down. And make sure that you have your slab on a piece of baking paper so that you can turn it to make sure that your texture is randomized and going different directions rather than all in the same direction. Okay, so whilst I'm finishing this up, I just wanted to say, how fun is texturing? I find it one of the most relaxing parts of making, if I'm honest with you. Okay, so now we have our mini dotting tool. So it's a very tiny dotting tool, and this just gives like a really crisp little dot. I absolutely love this texture. It's one of my faves. You'll see it in a lot of my new collections at the moment. And yeah, I just really like it for whatever reason. Aesthetically, it's my fave. So this is actually one of the dotting tools out of the Sculpey Style and Detail set, which is a set of 3. You can see here that I have actually cut the edges of this one to get the perfect dash. Honestly, if I don't like something, I'll just change it to work for me. So if it comes looking like something different and maybe I think, oh, I could do something to that and make it look more amazing, I'll do it. Why not? Be resourceful. Who says just because it comes looking like a certain way, you have to keep it that way? No one. Now, this is another dotting tool and it's just slightly larger than the other one. That is just a silicone sculpting end on it that I don't often use, if I'm honest with you, not that particular one anyway. So we're just pressing the dot in, and I'm doing them really close together. It almost gives like that pressed metal sort of hammered look. That's what I like about that particular texture. Okay, so this one is just a curve or a smiley face with a what looks like a shell or curved scallop edge detail tool. Now, that was a long-winded thing for saying it's just like a smiley face, really. And it comes in a set that I actually have available in my masterclasses in my workshops to sell. But yeah, it just gives a cute little smiley face texture and I really love it. Back to the old faithful needle tool. Love this. and I use it for a lot of my textures, like I said earlier. This particular texture is like a brush stroke. My hack for you here is to make sure that you do it very lightly, and that when you are, that you hold your needle tool flat, so almost like parallel to your work surface. If you have it straight up and down, it is not going to work the same way. So you need to lay it quite flat, and you need to be very light to the touch with this texture to get the effect that I'm getting here. Okay, this is actually my branding stamp, and it is something that I emboss into all of my gems. So my necklaces, my lanyards, my earrings all get branded with my stamp. It's from a supplier called Woodruff & Co. here in Australia, and they just custom made that for me. So do a little bit of research and you'll find something similar. But yeah, I just decided, why not use it as a texture? Why not put my brand on the front of my work? And it works well. So yeah, I love it. Anyway, that is all the different texturing techniques that I'm currently loving, and a really cool way to make this slab stand out from the rest. You could have easily kept it just like that, but how good does it look with texture and that amazing color on the back? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, the last thing I want to show you with our second slab that we made with the smaller patterns on is how to add some gold foil. Now this is just imitation gold leaf. It's very delicate and it can be a little bit fiddly to work with, but my gosh, it gives the best effect. So all we're going to use is just a little XL blade or craft blade. I'm going to give it a clean because it's a little bit dirty. And I find this the easiest way to pick up my foil and place it onto the slab. So with foil like this, you really can only get little random chunks. It's really difficult. You can't just like cut it out and have like perfect little shapes. So you kind of just have to go with it, and just be aware that it's not going to be perfect, that it's going to definitely look random. So all you do is break off a little bit, place it on the slab, use your finger to pat it down to make sure that the foil is all sort of sitting on the slab properly and there's nothing sticking up. And then you just cut your components out and cure it like normal. But what you are going to need to do is you're going to need to add a single layer of varnish to protect the foil on your cured pieces, because even though it sticks right now, so I'm just showing you my little wet wipe that I use to add to the blade. So I just wipe my blade on it. It helps me pick up the foil a little bit easier. So that's why I put a tissue into the frame. I mean, okay, this is the joy of voiceover. I forget what I've done. And I don't like to do 50 million takes. So as you can see, I'm just placing it really randomly, but it 100% goes in with the pattern of that particular slab, because it kind of looks like the similar shapes, and how all the shapes are all different with the colors. The foil just fits in perfectly with that. Oh yes, it looks like it's so fast when you do it this fast. It's not. This took ages. But yeah, like I said, single layer of varnish. I particularly like to use Cernit matte varnish, or I really love the Sculpey satin or the Fimo semi-gloss. Those are my top go-tos. The Cernit matte will take away that real shine that you have there with the foil. So I probably would suggest the Sculpey satin as my favorite, really, just because it gives a little bit of a sheen, but not a gloss. I can't stand a glossy finish unless it's resin. So yeah, the Sculpey satin would definitely be my go-to. And I decided to add a little bit of texture because I'm a little bit extra. And yeah. So there is 2 ways for you on how to use that fun random scrap cane, using lots of texture or using gold foil with a little bit of texture. Just remember, you don't have to use texture or foil. You can do it however you like. Just having that technique in your repertoire is just something really cool, because it doesn't need to just be done with bright colors. It can be done with really neutral colors. Yeah, you can really jazz it up however you like, add the pizzazz, add the branding, add whatever you like, make it you. Definitely don't go away from this thinking this is all you can make. You need to go away and think about how you can use that technique to your favor or to your style, and yeah, make it your own. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I've loved being here again today.